The dictionary defines rivalry as a competition for the same objective or for superiority in the same field. Major League Baseball has the Cubs and Cardinals. The NFL has Bears versus Packers, and Central Illinois high school football has Metamora versus Washington. Tonight, these 75-year adversaries meet for the 63rd time, battling for Mid-Illini Conference superiority. Washington enters having won 3 straight, led by senior back Thomas Borges, while Metamora has dropped back-to-back contests after starting 5-0. With both teams sitting a win away from clinching a playoff spot, the stakes are turned up just a little bit. And with that, we welcome you inside the booth to Washington. Alongside John Camosa, it's Larry Larson in with you. Thanks for joining us. And John, despite the streaking teams, Washington 3 in a row, Metamora's lost back-to-back, all bets are off.
Yeah, I mean, you throw all the records out the window when these two teams meet. And, despite losing 2 straight for Metamora, they're going to be coming into this game fired up on the road. A lot of implications, and they can still get into a tie for first place. Washington trying to hold on to that tie for first place with Morton, so it's going to be a really big game with the rain coming down heavy tonight.
And taking a look at those 3 consecutive wins for Washington, one player has really stood out, and that's their senior back, Thomas Borges.
Yeah, when Thomas Borges gets the ball, I mean, he's electric. He explodes right through the line, so you're usually going to see a big night at him. I don't expect anything less tonight. With this rain coming down, field's going to be a little slick, so you expect to see a lot of touches from Borges.
And on the other side, John, you talk about Metamora's running attack. They've had some injuries. Ethan Petrie was out last week. But when you talk running attack defensively, that's been the problem for Metamora in their last 2 losses.
Yeah, last week in that loss to Pekin, Metamora needed to make some big stops down the stretch. They allowed 21 unanswered points, so ultimately you got to make those stops in crucial games like this, and their defense has been struggling a bit lately.
Well, no matter who's on the field, no matter who's playing in any given year, this one is usually a good one. We've got Central Illinois' most heralded rivalry coming up next on CSM. And we welcome you in live to Babcock Field. Larry Larson, John Camosa, now just moments away from kickoff here as we take a look at some of the details inside this great rivalry, John. 63rd meeting all-time between these two teams. The number that jumps out to me here is 23 games decided by 1 score.
Yeah, I mean, anytime Metamora and Washington meet in the Mid-Illini Conference, it's always a big game. And tonight, the storyline's no different. You got Washington atop the Mid-Illini standings in first place. Metamora trying to sneak in there. A lot's on the line. Both teams coming in at 5-2 and 4-1 in the conference.
And John, briefly before kickoff, keys to the game here for Metamora: keep the fresh legs, get a quick start, and take care of the mental game. There's a lot of pressure here tonight.
Yeah, certainly. Metamora, with 2 straight losses, you want to bounce back tonight. Now's the time to do it against your rival Washington, so a lot on the line.
As for the Panthers, they got to secure the football. They've struggled a little bit with turnovers despite their 5-2 record here this year. Paul Sporer with a big leg sends it into the end zone, and we are underway with a touchback here in Washington. And John, that's one thing that Metamora head coach Jared Grebner mentioned to me. He said that field position is probably going to be a factor tonight because of the leg of Washington's kicker, Paul Sporer.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. Paul Sporer on his kickoffs can send it, right through the uprights at times when the wind's at his back. So, expect Metamora to usually get this field position off kickoffs for the remainder of the game.
But for now, Connor Willerton leads the Redbirds onto the field. The senior 3-year starting quarterback gives to the left to Garrett Taylor, and Taylor's off to the races. That's Ethan Petrie. Petrie was questionable at the start of this game. He hyperextended his knee 2 weeks ago, John. He missed last week, but he is back and better than ever with a big run.
Yeah, last week we weren't sure if we were going to see him for the remainder of the regular season. Tonight, like you said, coming in as a game-time decision and opens up the game with a really impressive run to get Metamora rolling.
Just getting underway here in Washington, Week 8 Mid-Illini Conference battle. Petrie will remain on the field after that run. Looks like he's full go, John. I know Coach Grebner said that he wasn't exactly sure how much Petrie would play, but he's on for back-to-back snaps to start the game. He gets it again, and this time he's met at the line of scrimmage.
39, Petrie carries again.
And if they do have to limit Ethan Petrie, you still have Garrett Taylor there, who was a crucial part for Metamora in last week's loss against Pekin. 175 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns.
It'll be 2nd down and 10 yards to go for the Redbirds. They're making some substitutions, and it goes back to one of our keys to the game, John, keeping those fresh legs. Metamora plays a lot of guys on both sides of the football, so that makes things tough, especially come the end of games.
It does, and the rain subsided a little bit since the start, so.
Willerton on the quarterback keeper with some space to the outside, past the sticks for a fresh set of downs.
Keeper by number 6, Connor Willerton.
Expect to see that a lot throughout the game, too. Willerton likes to pass, but when he gets out of the pocket and can run, he's a threat on the ground for the Redbirds.
John, so often when we've seen Metamora play this season, they have passed a lot on the opening drive. We've yet to see a throw from Willerton. Do you think we get one here?
I think we could see him, and one of the targets that he likes to go through is senior wide receiver Solomon Schwarz, who doesn't look to be on the field at the moment. Actually, yep, there he is, right on the right-hand side with Hartnett.
Schwarz in the slot. He's the man in motion right here. There it is, out left to Schwarz, fighting to get back to the line. Looks like he got brought down short. That's going to be a 1-yard loss.
Yeah, Larry, and last week against Pekin, we saw that a lot. Willerton loves to throw to Schwarz, connected with him a couple times there. So he's definitely his #1 target.
Schwarz just had 1 catch last week, and Metamora's loss to Pekin at home. Willerton under center here for the first time tonight. They give to Petrie up the gut. No dice. 3rd and long coming up.
And Washington's defense is going to stuff that middle now, knowing that Petrie's back. Their defensive line is going to have to work hard up front because they allowed a lot of yards against Pekin last week. That's something they want to try to limit tonight.
Washington's defense has been very, very stout all season, and they always are. That's one thing that Coach Grebner of Metamora pointed out to me. He said their defense is always good. They've allowed just 14.8 points per game on average this season. Willerton, the fake give to Taylor, throw over the middle, complete to Hartnett, breaks a tackle, and he's home free. The Redbirds score on their first drive and strike first on the road at rival Washington.
And Larry, one thing we've seen so crucial this season is usually getting out to that early start, add some momentum throughout the first half. So Metamora being in that hole of 2 straight losses, that's a good way to come out early on the road.
Metamora will go for 2 here, as they always do. John, they almost never kick that extra point. The only time that I've seen them kick an extra point this season was in their blowout win over Dunlap.
And they're usually successful when they do attempt to go for it. Saw that last week as well.
Willerton hollering out an audible to Schwarz at the top of your screen. Fake give to the left. Toss over the middle, complete.
Conversion attempt by the Redbirds.
Dalton Shuda calls it in.
Number 89, Dalton Shuda.
And just like that, John, it's 8-zip Redbirds on the road.
It's a good way to get that momentum going. We'll see how Washington responds. That counterpunch, but Metamora early out the gates, 4 minutes into the game. And like you said, Larry, they started out run, but when they go to the pass, it worked.
And we want to take this moment in the broadcast to remind you that tonight's presentation of Clutch Sports Media is brought to you by Kep Sports Bar and Grill in Washington. Stop in for their great selection of wings, pizza, burgers, and a family-oriented atmosphere. Take in any big game on one of Kep's flat-screen TVs, or try your luck on one of their video game machines. Find Kep's at 313 Muller Road in Washington, or call 309-444 1974. And also by Jake Weston State Farm, also in Washington. For all your insurance needs, call 309-444-4441 or visit jakewestoninsurance.com. Metamora getting ready to boot it away. Dalton Schuda just hauled in that 2-point conversion. And he swings the leg here. The kick goes right into the hands of Thomas Borges. Rather, that's Jack Lemus. And he jets ahead to the 30-yard line, brought down. And that's where the Panthers will set up shop for their first drive. And, John, one of our keys to the game for Metamora was to start hot. They did that. Now their defense has got to follow through.
Yeah, they won't want to show shades of last week. That defense had to step up late, peaking 21 unanswered points, so they don't want to do that again tonight against Washington. We'll see how their defense comes out this first drive, and we'll see how Washington responds after an early touchdown.
Ball stationed just past the 30-yard line. Noah Burlett, the senior quarterback, started all season long for the Panthers. Out of the gun here, he was looking for Drew Lewis, incomplete.
Pass attempt by the Panthers falls
Washington, a
incomplete.
run-heavy team as well, likes to go past first play.
Seconds and
Just a little
10,
bit outside there from
Washington.
Lewis.
Well, John, looking at the numbers from last week, Washington was more run-heavy than ever. Noah Burlett was just 4 for 8 for 46 yards. No touchdowns and an interception. And that's a bit surprising because of so many of Washington's playmakers are wide receivers. Isaac Mapson standing at 6'6", Drew Lewis at 6'2", an explosive athlete, and also Thomas Borges, a receiving threat. We'll see if the game plan changes this week. 2nd and 10. Here's the give to Borges. Got a little bit of daylight, tripped up at the 35.
22, Thomas Borges, the
Yeah, and
carry
that's something
for
that
the
Metamora's
Panthers.
defense is going to want to key in on with Borges because, Larry, we know well throughout the season he can explode right through the middle. He can also get you through the outside. A lot of speed that Borges uses there.
3rd and medium coming up. Borges has had a big year all year, John. Last week, 185 yards on the road at Canton to help lead Washington to victory. They've won 3 straight. Metamora has dropped 2 in a row after starting 5-0. Big play for the Redbirds defense early in this one right here. Another give to Borges, and he's got nowhere to go.
Met him in the backfield early. Nothing going there for the Panthers.
Metamora's defense brought the linebacker blitz. TJ Rising, one of the linebackers, the first men there. Owen Keenan also in on that tackle. So the Panthers go 3 and out, trailing by a touchdown and 2-point conversion. They send on their all-area punter, Paul Spohr, and he sends it away. Metamora is going to watch it bounce, and it takes a Metamora bounce, moving backwards towards the line of scrimmage. Panthers down it just out in front of the 30-yard line. What a start for the Redbirds, John.
Yeah, it really was. A couple of nice run plays set up by Connor Willerton. Touchdown pass to Caden Hardnett. And then right there, defense responds big. Gets Washington to go 3 and out. And Larry, that's a good start if you want to try to recover from 2 straight losses.
Playoff spot on the line tonight. Of course, it is only week 8, so you've got tonight and next week to lock up your playoff spot. Both these teams at 5 wins. You need 6 to officially clinch. Willerton gives to Petrie, and he is rolling through this Washington defense early on.
A lot of power behind Petrie, and if we see a shift with Garrett Taylor coming as well, a lot of power with him too. We saw that last week. Metamora really likes to use both backs effectively.
Garrett Taylor looked like a starting running back last week. Really stepped up in Petrie's absence. 175 yards, 3 overall touchdowns. Taylor not on the field here. Petrie gets another carry, and he'll get the sticks and more. Out past midfield, slicing through tacklers past the 40.
Petrie carries again for the Redbirds.
And you see how effective Petrie is early on.
Brought down across midfield.
You can see that power behind him, Larry, and definitely coming out hot like he hasn't missed a week.
Looks good as new. He hyperextended his right knee, and if you can see there at the very bottom of your screen, got a little bit of a wrap on it, John, but not even a brace, and he looks like he's moving so well.
Yeah, it hasn't slowed him down. We saw him earlier in the season, that same explosiveness, same speed behind Petrie. Looks to be on his game right now.
1st and 10 from the Washington 37. Solomon Schwartz, the wide receiver at the top of your screen. Petrie gets it again, this time a little bit shorter of a gain. But John, you see how many tacklers it takes to bring him down.
Yeah, big frame from Petrie, almost like a fullback. He's got that running back speed, very explosive. And Metamora is going to continue to do this. If it's effective right now on the ground, they're going to keep running it down the middle.
The difference right now, a passing touchdown from Connor Willerton to Caden Hartnett on the first drive for either side. Metamora looking to jump out 2 scores in the first quarter. Hartnett at the top of your screen. A unique bunch set here. Taylor gets the carry. He's got some space into the red zone.
Number 11, Garrett
Had a
Taylor,
feeling we'd see him shift back in there in the offensive rotation. Right there, Larry. It's nice to have that two-headed monster between Garrett Taylor and Ethan Petrie.
It reminds me a little bit like Pekin's running back combination that beat Metamora last week, Kanye Tyler and Tanner Sprecher.
It does, and we didn't even see a lot of Kanye Tyler in that game. Tanner Sprecher, their secondary back, proved to be a starter just like we saw from Garrett Taylor. Both 3 touchdowns, 6 combined, so a very good backfield in this Mid-Illini Conference.
Metamora going with the heavy set once more. It's Taylor in the backfield. He dropped the football. Washington's got it.
Talking about securing that football, limiting those mental mistakes in a game this big, and Washington catches their break right when all the momentum seemed to be with Metamora.
That's just what you want to see if you're the Panthers. John, it looked like Metamora's offense was just rolling downhill to start this game, and a critical blunder gives the Panthers a chance to tie this thing up.
Yeah, it was just the break they needed, a chance for their offense to get back out here.
Noah Burlett rolls out, connects with Drew Lewis, surveys the field, finds a little bit of space, and tumbles down near the 30.
Complete by the Panthers, 6, Noah Burlett to 4, Drew Lewis.
Drew Lewis, Washington's best playmaker, you could argue, John, and it seems like every week head coach Darryl Crouch scripts him into the game plan, whether that's running on jet sweeps or setting up screen passes. They want the ball in his hands.
Yeah, he's definitely a factor, like you said, on little screen plays or short slants downfield. He's a big-time playmaker, can make a lot of yards happen in front of him.
Lewis in the slot. Burlett connects with Brock Pollitt, and he dropped it.
Pass attempt by the Panthers falls incomplete, intended for 11, Pollitt.
It's another target that Burlett likes to go to, Brock Pollitt. We saw him have that nice touchdown snag against Dunlap earlier in the season. So between him, Mapson, and Lewis, 3 really talented wide receivers.
Panthers looking to the sideline, trying to avoid back-to-back 3-and-outs to start the contest. Plenty of time left on the play clock, under 20 seconds now. Thomas Borges in the backfield on this 3rd and 2. Burlett's going to toss. Throwing to Pollitt, and this time he hauls it in for the first down.
Really nice catch there for Pollitt, able to keep 1 foot in. Washington looking to go to that pass early on in this game, and it seems to be working right now.
A little bit of toe drag swag there. A good ball and an even better catch. Burlett to Pollitt. Washington's first 3rd down conversion of the evening. Sets them up short of midfield. Burlett out of the gun again. There's Lewis in motion. Fake jet sweep. Borges on the carry for a short gain.
22, Thomas Borges the carry for the Panthers. 33.
They'll run Borges a lot too, so expect to, between the pass, for them to get him some touches too, but early on Metamora's defense seemed to read his run a little bit better.
Metamora early on is filling the gaps very well, and that's something that they've struggled to do in their last 2 losses.
Yeah, they're putting it together early, and it's just being effective throughout the game. Both teams are going to want their offense and defense clicking in this big rival.
Metamora looks to send one linebacker on the blitz. Burlett dancing out of the pocket, in trouble, misses Keenan, and he's going to keep it himself. What a run from Borges. Lays out near the 50. He'll be about 3 yards short, but John, he turned something out of nothing there.
Really did. A nice job to scramble, cut it back around field, got a couple blocks, and sets him up for another third down situation. Larry, you think they keep it through the air again here on third down?
They've been rolling with that game plan here early on. Looks like Burlett's going to operate out of the shotgun again.
See if he goes to Lewis, one of his targets. Downfield. Have yet to see Mapson get a touch.
Mapson, the 6'6" wide receiver at the top of your screen. Brock Pollitt in the slot along with Drew Lewis. Another pass. Pocket collapsing. Burlett makes something happen, but did he get enough yardage? I don't think he did.
See where they give him the spot. Looked just short.
The officials will move the sticks.
On the play of 3 results in first down, Washington.
Noah Burlett getting the job done with the legs. The senior quarterback has just one rushing TD all season, which surprises me because he's so mobile. And I think a lot of his running plays are plays just like that, broken pass plays where he needs to make something happen.
Yeah, and when he finds himself in that situation, he can get out of it pretty quick.
Here's a screen to Lewis. He can't make the catch. That's a forward pass. No fumble.
By the Panthers falls incomplete. Intended for Lewis. 2nd and 10, Washington.
Metamora's defense doing a pretty good job here early on to kind of contain Washington. Like you said, that pass game, though, looks like Washington will keep going to that.
Cade Beadshide, a fullback, comes in for the heavy set for the Panthers. Give to Borges. Nothing but daylight, and he's wrapped up. John, you blink and you might miss Borges. TJ Rising didn't let him get away.
He's very explosive. He got a block right there up the center. And Larry, it's usually that one man to beat, and if they don't, he can be gone in an instant. But good job there for Metamora to make a stop, but a nice gain from Borges.
Under a minute to go in the opening quarter of action. Week 8 Mid-Illini Conference battle between two of the biggest rivals you'll ever see in high school football in Illinois. Metamora took the matchup last season, I should say, in the spring on April 23rd, defeating Washington over at Malone Field in Metamora. Play clock under 5 seconds now. Burlett gets it going, gives to Borges, gets another block, past the 30, breaking tackles all the way to the house.
Touchdown, Washington. Number 22.
Just like that, you said you blink, you miss them, and Larry, we've seen a lot of that this season, and that one was no surprise. Broke a tackle right to the house.
Thomas Borges with his 9th rushing touchdown this season gets the Panthers on the board. They will not go for 2. They'll send out Paul Sporer, who's 20 for 21 on extra points this season. 6'3" senior, long and lanky, great build. Swings the leg. Make it 21 for 22.
By number 2, Paul Sporer, after the snap from 9, McQuarrie, and the
When you got a kicker that good in your arsenal, you don't have to elect to go for 2 this early in a game. Good decision there from Washington. Just like that, we got a really good ball game.
Probably getting down to your last chance to get a 50-50 ticket
We
tonight.
most certainly do. You'd expect nothing less from this great rivalry, great matchup. Both teams at 5-2. John, the last time we had a normal season, there was not this much on the line. Washington defeated Metamora back in 2019, 38-0 here at Babcock Field. Metamora was eliminated from playoff contention with that loss. If I'm not mistaken, Washington would go on and play in the playoffs. They lost to Oaklawn Richards in the first round.
Yeah, now that this season's back to normal, we get out of the spring with limited fans and COVID putting a damper on that. Finally at normalcy, and a lot of stakes on the line tonight.
Paul Sporer's line drive kick into the end zone. He's got 2 touchbacks off of his right foot tonight. Metamora will set up shop from its own 20.
First down, Metamora.
And John, going back to the mental side of things for the Redbirds, they're probably not too happy with themselves after the result of their last drive. They were marching down the field, and then Garrett Taylor dropped a handoff.
Yeah, when that happens, like you said, a drop handoff leads to a Washington touchdown from Borges off of a good drive. You gotta regroup there and make sure you're not letting that affect you mentally.
Schwartz in motion. Willerton with the carry. A nice pickup on first down.
Quarterback keeper by number 6, Connor Willerton.
And that's the final play of the first quarter of action. No shortage of action in our Week 8 game of the week between arch rivals. A touchdown pass to Caden Hartnett puts the Redbirds on the board. Washington responds off of a turnover with a Thomas Borges touchdown dash. And we'll take this pause in the action to thank some of our great sponsors, starting with Kep's Sports Bar and Grill in Washington. Stop in for their great selection of wings, pizza, burgers, and more in a family-oriented atmosphere. Take in any game on one of Kep's flat-screen TVs or try your luck on one of their video gaming machines. Find Kep's at 313 Muller Road in Washington or call 309-444-1974. We're also brought to you by Jake Weston State Farm. For all your insurance needs, call Jake from State Farm at 309-444-4441 or visit jakewestoninsurance.com or visit his office just west of the square in Washington. Thanks for Jake for being a proud supporter of Illinois high school sports, proud sponsor of Clutch Sports Media all season long, helping us bring you the action. Washington, Metamora, arch rivals, 63rd all-time meeting, 75th year of this great rivalry. Glad we could be here in Washington to bring you the action. 2nd and 4. Willerton gives left. A dash up the middle by Garrett Taylor. Got close to the sticks. Not quite there. 3rd and short forthcoming.
Yeah, Larry, now that we saw Petrie early on in this game get a lot of the runs, and then when he's seen Garrett Taylor shift in there, expect Metamora to probably exchange the load between both Taylor and Petrie throughout this game. It seems to be effective right now.
That carry enough for a first down from Taylor, bouncing back well after that fumble. One wide receiver at the top of your screen is Solomon Schwartz. Fake carry to Petrie. Willerton wrapped up at the line of scrimmage. John, that's so tough to stop when you've got 2 guys in the backfield that can run so hard and so well like Willerton and Petrie can.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, you got to be strong up front with that defensive line, and your linebackers especially. They like to go to the outside, but yeah, defense is going to be big in this game. We saw 2 early scores from both sides, but defense is going to have to step up big here tonight.
And at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to which team makes fewer mistakes. Willerton, bubble screen over the middle to Hartnett. Big gain on 2nd down.
Hartnett, who had that early touchdown to put Metamora on the board first. Explosive again right there. It's a target Willerton likes to go through.
Hartnett 2nd on the team entering tonight's contest with 10 catches. He's now over 200 yards of receiving yards on the season. 3rd and 1 coming up. Petrie in the backfield with Willerton. Metamora going with a heavy set. A few tight ends here. Here's Petrie, met by an orange wall.
Petrie the carry for the Redbirds.
Metamora stacked that left side of the line. Open space for Petrie, but Washington met him right there.
It'll be a loss.
One thing to watch there, John, it looked like Petrie took an extra moment to get up.
Metamora.
He's staying on the field for 4th down, as Metamora will send out the punt team. Rather, they're going to go for it. Willerton hurrying up. Going with a hard count. Play clock at 13. He wants an audible as the fans energize Babcock Field. Metamora burns a timeout. They can't get Washington to jump off sides.
Yeah, used it as almost a decoy there to hope for Washington to have a false start, but you think Metamora is going to have to elect to punt now.
Always worth a shot there. Again, it goes back to whichever team makes fewer mistakes. And in a game like this, it's easy to let those nerves get the best of you. Neither side does it there.
No, and we've seen both teams throughout the year struggle with some of those offside calls. Metamora hoping for an early jump, but could see the Panthers get the ball back here. A chance to take the lead.
Metamora, first team tonight to burn a timeout. Action moving along at a good clip in this classic rivalry. Looks like Washington is ready for either a punt or a 4th down try. And honestly, John, it looks like they're not sending out their punt team, but Metamora will. Solomon Schwartz will boot it away. Tyler Richardson
will have 4th and 2 after the timeout.
Is one of the returners back deep. Metamora sending some guys in motion. Schwartz with a fake. Rather, he boots it away. After a little dramatics, Richardson wrapped up past the 40.
And he has the ability to do that. Schwartz, a lot of speed behind him. Almost looked like he was going to throw, but they elect to keep it in the air there. And you don't want to get anything too risky going on in that type of field position if you're Metamora, but leaves Washington in a pretty good spot here to open their drive.
Favorable field position for the Panthers with a chance to take the lead here in Week 8 over Metamora. Panthers scored on their last drive. Thomas Borges breaking a few tackles on his way to the house, 30-plus yards. Borges in the backfield with Noah Burlett. Lewis in motion. It's a fake. Burlett lobs to Borges on the wheel route. Down the sideline. Past Caden Hartnett, close to the red zone.
That's how effective he can be. We saw him on the ground with that huge rushing touchdown. Almost turns into a receiver on that play, and a lot of speed, one man to beat. Just gets him out of bounds, but that could have been number 2, Larry.
A high arcing ball out of the hand of Noah Burlett. That was a beauty. And it does indeed get the Panthers into the red zone. They're flipping things around as they get the play call from head coach Darryl Crouch. Panthers tied for first in the Mid-Illini Conference at 4-1. Metamora trailing the Panthers by 1 game. Burlett looking for the end zone, and Brock Pollitt, and it's not close.
Yeah, it looked like Pollitt had to look up a little bit there. Didn't really see where it was at. That one sails too far out of bounds. Good effort there from Burlett.
John, throughout the first half of this game, we've seen the confidence that Coach Crouch has in Burlett to really step up and throw the ball a lot more than he has in previous weeks.
Yeah, it's something, if it's working early on, stick with it. And Washington seems to be very comfortable right now with that pass game.
Cade Beedscheid, the fullback, onto the field, blocking for Borges as he bowls over a man to the 15.
Thomas Borges, the carry for the Panthers. Tackle by 13.
They could always go back to that run game too. Borges, it's a nice trade-off with the pass. Borges picking up those extra yards on the ground. And you got to think too, Larry, 3rd and 5, Metamora potentially makes a stop. They do have Paul Sporer as their kicker, who's pretty solid from this distance.
He hasn't missed from extra point range this season. This is pretty close to extra point range. Borges unable to move the sticks, so here comes Paul Spohr.
See if he can keep that streak alive here tonight. Chance to give the Panthers a second quarter lead.
It's going to be Tyler Richardson on the hold. This one will be attempted from the 23. And the kick is more than good, John. That could have been good from as far as 40. And just like that, the Panthers take a 10-8 lead.
He's been so consistent this year. Knocks another one through the upright. Washington's got that early lead.
Washington climbing back out in front after falling down by a touchdown in the first quarter. They have each of the last two scores in front of the home fans. Panthers looking for win number 6 to lock up a playoff berth, as is Metamora. Both these squads at 5-2. John, there's a lot on the line in this game just in terms of the Mid-Illini standings, but also bragging rights between the towns. Metamora defeated Washington last year in rather heartbreaking fashion for the Panthers. 2 turnovers proved to be costly for them. They had control of that game at multiple points, but they muffed a punt in the second half of that game. That really swung the momentum. Metamora scored off of it, and they took the momentum and never gave it back. And I know that's something that's fueled the Panthers all season.
Yeah, it sits in the back of your mind. It's usually there. And like you said, early in the broadcast, records kind of go out the window with these two teams. No matter how good or bad their seasons are going, you always look forward to playing each other. And there's a lot of bragging rights on the line in these games. And tonight the stakes are very high.
Metamora leads the all-time series over Washington, John, but it's a rather slim margin. That's part of what makes this rivalry so good. Willerton looking to pass, has Hartnett wide open down the sideline, and he finds him.
Pass complete by the Redbirds. 6 Willerton to 8 Hartnett.
How about that for a response after a field goal?
Another nice connection with Hartnett. We've seen him connect with them 3 times tonight. That one a nice pickup for Metamora, getting some yards through the air.
Willerton has that throwing ability. Hartnett has proved to be his favorite target tonight. Perhaps the Washington defense focusing in on Solomon Schwartz. Hartnett rising to the occasion. Ball on Metamora's 43. Ethan Petrie has nowhere to go, and he lunges forward. Second effort gets him some yards.
Still seeing Petrie strong out there. He saw him a little slow to get up on the last possession. Bounces right back here and hasn't limited his touches.
Guys checking in and out of the ball game. Owen Keenan and Nate Johnston switching in and out of that right tackle spot, and they do so here before 2nd and 4. Willerton, rush coming. Off balance throw, looking for Schwartz, incomplete.
Pass attempt by the Redbirds falls incomplete, intended for 7 Schwartz.
How about that throw, Joko? Willerton off of his back foot, still able to sling it well downfield.
Yeah, you seen that one was incomplete, still hit him in the hands, might have been able to get a foot on it. Looked like he sailed just a tad out of bounds, but yeah, Larry, really nice throw from Willerton, and Metamora proven they're not afraid to go deep downfield and make a statement.
Metamora has made a few statements throughout this season. They started 5-0, but they've struggled the last 2 weeks, falling to Morton on the road and then Pekin at home last week. Pekin using 3 unanswered scores in the second half to down the Redbirds. Willerton, met by Mason Geltz, brings him down, makes it 4th down. Decision time for the Redbirds, John. You think they go for it on 4th and short?
Well, they're at midfield here. They elected not to go for it when they're at their own 40, but might not be a bad option just to get out here and get something going.
They will send the punt team on, led by Schwartz, who does have that ability to fake.
Yeah, you never know if there's a trick play in the backfield here with Schwartz. Got a lot of speed behind him. Could also elect to throw it, too, rolling out of the pocket.
Washington not selling out on a punt here. They're in their defensive coverage. Schwartz taking a few steps, takes his time, then sends it away. Richardson picks it up. He's got some space to the outside. A few men to beat. Tiptoeing on the sideline, brought down short of the 50.
How about that play? Almost like he was just going to wait for it to get touched by a defender. Instead, picks it up, gets right back to midfield.
The man they call T-Rich comes through with a heads-up play. You talk to any of Washington's coaches, and they will tell you that Richardson's football IQ is off the charts. He's one of the trusted leaders on this Washington team. He relays the play calls on the defensive side of the ball. He's not super involved on offense, but as you can see there, he's explosive.
Yeah, he showed that right there. Really nice heads-up play. Saw there was space there, picked it up, decided to run with it, and got to the outside for a nice gain.
Chance for the Panthers to go up 2 scores before the half. They'll get the ball after the half. Borges on first down, gain of 1 or 2.
Yeah, this is where Metamora would want to make that big stop. Like you said, you go up 2 scores and you get the ball at the halftime. It's not a hole that Metamora would want to be in, so right here, defense is crucial.
2nd and 8. Beedscheid in the backfield with Borges. Borges runs left. Flags fly as he's brought down near the line of scrimmage. We'll see what the call is. Our first flag tonight. Holding against Washington. That'll move them back 10.
Tackle was by 10, Ole.
Yeah, and some of those little mental mistakes can come back to haunt you later in the game.
But all things considered, this has been a very clean game by both sides, and I think that speaks to how well these programs are coached.
Yeah, it's definitely a very fast-paced first and second quarter as we're almost nearing halftime. And like you said, it's been very clean. Talked about that mental aspect going in, and they've seemed to be very sharp on both sides of the ball.
2nd and 19 for Noah Burlett and company. He's got the play call from the sideline. Lots of noise coming from the Metamora student section right behind Burlett. He's going to step up to pass anyway. In trouble. Brought down in the backfield. A sack by Garrett Taylor.
So effective offensively, and Garrett Taylor showing his skills on defense there. It's a big stop for Metamora to push Washington back deeper.
Lost back to the 10-yard line, 3rd and long.
All the way back to Washington's own 10. What a stand by the Redbirds defense. And it looks like they're going to get another chance on offense, barring a big play by the Panthers.
3rd and 34 situation. Expect to see the Panthers go to the air here.
Go ahead.
4 wide receivers.
I don't think you got this one in their playbook very often. It's a draw to Borges. Nice open field tackle made by guess who? Garrett Taylor.
Good idea there. You sell them with 4 wide receivers, tight end. Go up to Borges, but Metamora was probably expecting that one to be somewhere in their playbook.
No gain, so 4th and a country mile. Paul Sporer will boot it from his own end zone. Solomon Schwartz, as well as Caden Hartnett, back deep for the Redbirds. Big chance for them before the half coming up. High punt, bounces out of bounds.
A lot of hang time on that punt.
Hopped out of bounds. It will be marked right at the Washington 40-yard line.
Metamora will
First
start on the
down,
Washington
Metamora.
40. Prime position, trying to regain the lead. In case you're just joining us, the Redbirds scored first. Connor Willerton finding Caden Hartnett in the first quarter on the first drive for either side. Washington responding with a long touchdown run from Thomas Borges, and then the go-ahead field goal from Paul Sporer. Since the defenses have settled in. Willerton with 4 wide receivers here. Schwartz in motion. He gets the carry on the jet sweep, breaking tackles, making men miss. Gets past the chains. That'll be enough for a first down. An elusive run from Schwartz.
Good way to zigzag there. Break through a couple tackles, pick up yardage, and Metamora in a really prime spot now here with 2:52 left in the second quarter.
Redbirds with 2 timeouts. Plenty of time to work with, as you can see on the bottom of your screen. Ethan Petrie sprints to the sideline. Solomon Schwartz sent out of the backfield into the slot. Trick play. Pass back to Willerton. Brought down short of the 20. John, whenever you see that for the Redbirds, you think big play potential because they're trying to catch the defense off guard, but they did a nice job sticking with their defensive assignments.
Yeah, they did, and in a play like that, in a situation where we've seen that throughout the season where, you know, you run a trick play, you got to think Schwartz is a quarterback as well, so that type of play is the option to go downfield or run that screen there to Willerton. But not a bad play there for Metamora. Washington's defense doing a good job of picking it up.
Willerton, fake throw, incomplete over the middle.
By the Redbirds falls incomplete.
Looked like that was in the vicinity of Solomon Schwartz.
3rd and 4.
So 3rd and 4 coming up. I doubt Metamora is going to get creative again. Petrie still on the field. He can definitely get 4 yards. He hasn't gotten a carry in a little bit. What do you think the play call is?
I could see them keeping this one on the ground again with Petrie. I mean, you could still put yourself in field goal range here if you get close to the sticks, but see if Metamora can pick up the first down.
Willerton gives to Petrie, stumbling forward.
39, Petrie.
That's not going to be enough for a fresh set of downs. And we'll see what Metamora elects to do, clock running.
22.
Washington will get the ball after the half.
Metamora.
Put yourself in a tough spot here now. Field goal could be an option. Or if you want to elect to go for it.
Metamora usually doesn't even kick extra points, though, John. That's something you got to consider here. It would be a long field goal for any high school kicker. Willerton and company are going to go for it. About a minute to go in the first half. Jet sweep. Willerton keeps it. Brought down in the backfield, but a flag flies.
85, Noah Hoogerwerf with the stop. There is a
The penalty is on the Redbirds. The Panthers will likely decline, and they will get the ball back with a chance to do a minute drill to wrap up the first half.
Really nice stop here from the Panthers to get the ball right back. And Larry, you look at the clock, 56.6 remaining. It's enough time for Thomas Borges to get a big touch. He's explosive. We've seen him bust some big runs. Washington's been going through the air a lot as well, so could be a little bit of magic here for Washington.
And, of course, it's more than enough time to get into field goal range for Paul Sporer. He's made a field goal as long as 40 this year in Week 2 against Kankakee here at Babcock Field on the turf, but ironically enough, it didn't count. The officials waved it off. One said it was good, the other said it was not. Timeout taken by Metamora before 1st and 10.
We have a timeout, Metamora.
Perhaps they weren't ready for the Panthers' heavy set that they were about to come out in. Second timeout burned by Metamora tonight, and we'll take this opportunity to remind you of some of our great sponsors, starting with Caps in Washington. Caps brings you a great atmosphere and great wings, pizza, burgers, and a family-oriented atmosphere. Take in any big game, including possibly Washington Metamora tonight on one of Caps' flat-screen TVs, or try your luck on one of their video game machines. Find Caps at 313 Muller Road in Washington, or call 309-444-1974. Clutch Sports Media tonight also brought to you by Jake Weston State Farm, just west of the square in Washington on Peoria Street, or you can visit him online at jakewestoninsurance.com or give him a ring at 309-444-4441. That's Jake from State Farm. Out of the timeout, 1st and 10 for the Panthers. They're not going to spread it out here. John, it looks like they're probably just going to run out the clock. They give to the left to Borges. Puts his head down, charging forward, picks up a few on first down.
Yeah, you could see another run or two out of Borges just to see what type of yardage they could pick up here as the clock continues to run. But I wouldn't be surprised either if they come out of the second quarter and just let it run its course, like you said.
About a 5-second difference between the play clock and the game clock. Not often you say that in football. Borges, give to the left. Charging ahead, tossed down. Clock currently at 21 seconds. Stopped as Washington moves the sticks. Doesn't look like the Panthers are going to try anything too aggressive, despite the fact they've got 3 timeouts in their back pocket.
Looks like this one's going to run out. And see a very close game at halftime. Washington has the upper hand.
And that will do it for the first half between the Washington Panthers and Metamora Redbirds. The rivalry is living up to the hype tonight. 2 5-2 teams in a close battle after 2 quarters. The difference right now, a Paul Sporer field goal in the second quarter. Metamora getting on the board back in the first with a Willerton pass to Caden Hartnett. And that's all the scoring we've got so far. John, my big takeaway from the first half is how good the defense looked.
Yeah, the defense was really good on both sides. Metamora had made some nice stops. Washington made some stops when they had to. And, you know, that's something that we've seen Washington do all year. Metamora really had to channel that in themselves from last week, giving up 21 unanswered, but tonight they looked really solid, only allowing 10 here in the first half. As Washington only allowed 8, so we're setting up for a really good game, both offensively and defensively.
It's what you come to expect from these 2 arch rivals, the 63rd ever meeting between Washington and Metamora. Most of them have been close. 23 of them have been decided by 1 score, and it's shaping up to be another one of those close contests here tonight. We're going to step aside for a halftime break. We'll let you watch the band. We'll come back, break down the first half a little bit more, and get you set for the second half on the Clutch Sports Media Game of the Week after 2 quarters. Washington 10, Metamora 8.
tights. Come out of the closet one day. Red tights. Little devil.
Welcome back in to Babcock Field in Washington. Thanks for joining us tonight on the Clutch Sports Media Game of the Week, presented by Jake Weston State Farm. Larry Larson and John Camosa in with you. And John, the first half lived up to everything you would expect from this great rivalry.
Yeah, it did. Metamora struck early with a big touchdown pass. Washington answers back late in the first quarter with Thomas Borges, who's been so effective all year. And then Paul Spohr puts one through the uprights to give Washington a 2-point lead at halftime. But Larry, like you said, seen a lot of offense, seen a lot of defense. Playmakers that we've been seeing for both teams have stepped up. It's been an exciting rivalry game here in the Mid-Illini.
It most definitely is. Both teams entering this contest at 5-2, so one more win for either side locks up that playoff spot for good. Of course, you get to that 5-win mark, you are playoff eligible, but it's no sure thing unless you win 6. So a win here for either team would give them some peace of mind. Before we get the second half going, we want to remind you of some of our great sponsors, including Kep's Sports Bar and Grill in Washington for all the best wings, pizza, burgers, and a family-oriented atmosphere. Visit Kep's in Washington. Visit them on 313 Muller Road or call them at 309-444-1974. Tonight's presentation also brought to you by Jake Weston State Farm, also in Washington. For all your insurance needs, call 309-444-4441. Easiest phone number to remember in the 309 area code. It's Jake Weston State Farm in Washington. Joko, before we get the second half underway, I want to revisit the keys to the game that we briefly mentioned before the game got underway. And you look at Metamora, fresh legs. They've done a good job subbing in and out. Get off to a quick start. You can check that box. And the mental side of things, they've looked pretty sharp.
Yeah, I mean, that one turnover when they were driving down the field and, botched fumble there. But since then, they picked it right back up, and they haven't had any mental mistakes. And like you said, fresh legs, rotating Ethan Petrie in there now that he's healthy off that injury. Garrett Taylor, they seem to kind of split the workload, and both guys are getting out there and getting rested. And seeing Metamora, like you said, check all those boxes they need to check on the game plan.
And then as for Washington, secure the football. They haven't had a turnover. Ground and pound. Thomas Borges has a rushing touchdown. And keep the crowd going. They've done that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it is a chilly night here. We had a lot of rain earlier. Fans might be a little bit cold. Harder to get into the game like that, but we still heard a nice fan base here cheering on their hometown team. And, we see Washington go through the air a lot, but it's still predominantly ground and pound with Borges.
Once again, it's the 63rd all-time meeting between these rivals. As you take a look at some of the stats and figures from this rivalry, Metamora leads it 34-28. The thing that shocked me the most, John, looking back at the history between these two teams, is that Metamora won 19 straight contests at one point, which was so shocking to me. And that was from 1995 all the way down until 2008, including 5 playoff games in that span. Metamora leads the series in playoff games 5-1. And the funniest thing about that streak is Jared Grebner, as a player, of course he's a Metamora alum, did not lose to Washington in his playing career.
Yeah, it's something nice to say in your career at Metamora that you didn't lose to your rival in conference. And, now he's on the sidelines coaching his team and hoping for a victory tonight. But Washington's going to want to try to put a stop to that. But, yeah, as you said, Metamora kind of held the crown there for a long time, and now we've seen balance since then. Both teams have really shown out here trying to go at each other and get that win.
It's very balanced, especially as of late. Washington has started to turn the tide. They've won 4 of the last 6 matchups, but lost the Springs matchup in heartbreaking fashion, 21-14 at Metamora. Dalton Schuda getting ready to boot it away for the Redbirds, and the second half is underway at Babcock Field. Jack Lemus over to field the kick. Spins out of a tackle before he is downed short of the 30.
Number 8, Jack Lemus with the kick return for the Panthers.
Lemus, an explosive running back, started for the Panthers a little bit in the spring. He's still got a big role, especially on special teams. He's got a punt return as well as a kick return touchdown this year.
Yeah, he's definitely stepped up there on special teams for the Panthers. Like you said, we've seen him get the ball a little bit there in the backfield, but they've really held true to Thomas Borges, who's just been a workhorse for the Panthers all season.
Thomas Borges with 9 rushing touchdowns this season, including 1 tonight, back in the second quarter. Noah Burlett leads the squad out onto the field. Cade Beedscheid in the backfield along with Borges. Here's the give to Borges, looking for daylight, doesn't have much.
22, Thomas Borges to carry for the Panthers.
Washington's student section, you may be able to hear them. Their theme is camo tonight, so perhaps you can't see them, but their presence is definitely felt.
Second and 5.
Yeah, they're getting fired up on those bleachers. Metamora on the opposing side brought a nice student section as well, so it's good to see a big crowd on hand.
Once we zoom out here, you'll be able to see Metamora's student section behind Noah Burlett. Burlett sends a man in motion. It's Mapson. Mapson with no touches tonight. Another touch to Borges. He's tripped up just past the line.
Again for the Panthers.
Third down and medium coming up out of the halftime break for the Panthers.
Gain up to the 34. Third and 3, Washington.
See if Washington keeps it on the ground again here.
Beedscheid still back there looking for the play call. Beedscheid, a senior leader on this squad, plays both sides of the ball very well. He took that Metamora loss during the spring personally. He told me it was one of the worst feelings of his life. He blocks for Borges. Borges down the sideline, past the 30. Still going inside the 10.
After a big hit, he still stayed on his feet. So explosive, though. We've seen that a lot of times this season where he gets to the outside and he's gone.
Thomas Borges having an explosive game and perhaps the biggest game of the year for the Panthers. Washington trying to go ahead 2 scores.
Runs him out of bounds.
Isaac Mapson heads to the sideline before the play. Mapson usually a red zone target for Noah Burlett. We'll see if he airs one out to somebody else here. He's got the play call.
That's where Metamora's defense is going to want to be locked in here, try to make a stop.
Give to the left. Bowls over.
Number 41, E.J. Phillips.
That was E.J. Phillips on the carry. Phillips with his first carry of the contest. Phillips, a linebacker on the defensive side of the ball. Almost got to the goal line.
Extended his arms out there. Good effort, just a little bit short.
Borges still getting his breath caught up on the sideline. So Phillips stays out there. Tyler Casey also in the backfield. The give to the left to Phillips. This time he finds pay dirt.
You got 2 big blockers up there for Phillips, and he finds some clearance.
39 Casey and 13 Beedscheid into the end zone.
Paul Sporer will come on to try and make this a 2-score game. Right now, still a 1-score game, of course, because Metamora so often goes for 2. Sporer has missed just 1 extra point all season. High snap, good hold, good kick.
Extra point is good, kicked in by number
Panthers
2,
ahead by 9. Early in the third quarter of a Week 8 Mid-Illini Conference premier matchup.
Washington 17.
That's something we're not too used to seeing. Kind of uncommon for Washington too, is getting the ball to E.J. Phillips there. The defensive side switches over to offensive role, and nice touchdown run there for Washington.
It's that next man up mentality, right? You never know who's going to get that opportunity in a big game. Both of Washington's touchdowns tonight coming on the ground. Tack on a field goal, along with a few extra points. It's Panthers 17, Metamora 8. Paul Sporer setting things up on the tee. He's got 2 touchbacks tonight on his kicks. Metamora with 2 players back deep to return. The kick sails, bounces at the goal line, and tumbles for a touchback.
Kickoff by the Panthers goes into the end zone for a touchback.
Metamora with very few chances.
First down,
All the
Metamora.
Mid-Illini teams that have played Washington this year, John, have kind of learned that the hard way.
Yeah, maybe on a punt, but you don't see it a whole lot where Paul Sporer is going to give you a chance at a return there. Usually sail past the end zone or end up for a touchback, but I'm sure Metamora would like a chance at one on special teams.
So off the E.J. Phillips touchdown dash for the Panthers, Metamora will try and get back on the scoreboard for the first time since the first quarter. Connor Willerton out of the gun. Hands to the right to Ethan Petrie, and he's moving. Carries a few men with him to the sticks.
Ethan Petrie, the carry for the Redbirds.
John, when I was on the phone with Metamora head coach Jared Grebner yesterday, he likened Ethan Petrie to a bowling ball rolling down a hill. And I think that run exemplified that.
Yeah, we saw that right there on that play, and we saw that a couple times in the first quarter on that very first run of the game. Just bounces off tackles, breaks tackles, spins, and it's a good analogy.
Petrie checked out. Garrett Taylor checked in along with Cam Davis in the backfield. Flag flies. That'll be a false start against the Redbirds. Their second flag of the game. Washington still without a penalty.
5-yard penalty.
Really nice showing for Washington. They usually go through games with some penalties, and the fact that they don't have one through about 2.5 quarters, really nice showing here from Darryl Crouch and his Panthers.
I mean, especially under pressure, too. This is a big-time game. You talk to any single one of these players on the sideline, they'll say, this is what you dream of. That's what Cade Beachside told me. This is what you dream of when you're a kid. You grow up playing games in the end zone, and then all of a sudden you're on the field. Willerton keeps it himself to the outside. Good deception there. Gain of about 10 or so. Second and approximately 5 coming up.
Second and 5.
Metamora doing a nice job of moving the ball downfield here, trying to get as far down as they can to set up a score.
Two backs in the backfield once more for Willerton. He gives to Petrie. Bouncing in and out of traffic.
39 Petrie.
Brought down after a short gain. Third down and short coming up.
Phillips and Harlan in on the stop. Gain to the 40.
Petrie coming off a hyperextended right knee 2 weeks ago. Suffered against Morton. Metamora's first loss. That was a dejecting blow to them, and they didn't have Petrie last week, but John, he looks as good as new this week.
Yeah, and they'll certainly want to get back in that win column with him back in the backfield. It definitely hurt not having him those 2 games that they lost.
Petrie gets the carry on third down and gets the first down.
39, Ethan Petrie, the carry for the Redbirds.
Redbirds front 5 doing a good job there. Ben Wallace, Gabe Meinert, Carson Irvin, Michael Meinert, and Owen Keenan getting the job done. Along with Petrie, who could probably play a little offensive line himself.
He could, and Petrie definitely fits the frame for that up front. Built like a linebacker / tight end running back.
Willerton looking to pass, wide open, Caden Hartnett. One man to beat, and he beats him. Caden Hartnett with his second touchdown reception of the night, and the Redbirds are back within a few.
Number 8, Caden Hartnett.
Hartnett gave Richardson there a little juke move. Looked like he was right there with him on his side. Hartnett gave him a little juke, and then nothing but daylight there. Metamora right where they want to be.
Have a night. Caden Hartnett beat everybody down the field. Redbirds will go for 2 to get back within 1. Ethan Petrie there in the backfield with Willerton. He spreads Hartnett out wide to the right. Schwarz in motion. Willerton, run pass option. It's picked off. And that play, of course, is blown dead immediately. Cade Beachside with the interception. So the score holds Washington by a field goal.
Cannot return those in high school football. So score remains Washington 17.
But John, that's the exact response you want if you're the Redbirds. And I can't help but draw the parallels to last year's game between these two sides, when TJ Rising found himself similarly wide open on a play, and Solomon Schwarz stepped up and found him wide open over the middle. That kind of sparked and started the Redbirds' comeback.
Yeah, I mean, little things like that are going to get you right back in a ball game. You know that you're in a 17-8 hole. You pull yourself out of it with a nice pass play, and you know you're right back in this game now. For Metamora, that provided that little spark, and you couldn't have scored at a better time in this third quarter. Still a lot of time left in this ball game.
Metamora getting ready to send it away. Grant Bennington charges ahead on the football. It's a pop-up punt. Fielded at the 20. Tyler Richardson jets ahead to the 40. Another big return for T-Rich.
Talked about the offensive playmaker that he is. Another good heads-up return there from him.
Short field for Washington. It seems like a lot of the time tonight, John, they've had a number of short fields, but all things considered, they haven't been able to capitalize as much as they would like.
Yeah, and that's credit to Metamora's defense. Has stepped up a little bit. Still got to contain Thomas Borges back there. We've seen him bust off that big run early in the game.
There's Borges. Brought down. Big hit from the rear end by TJ Rising.
Stop made by 33, TJ Rising. A gain of 3.
John, Metamora's defense was so stout through the first 5 weeks of the season. They didn't allow more than 15 points in each of the first 5 games, but in their last 2 losses, they allowed 35 points last week and 40 points the week before.
And before we have that second down play, we have a timeout.
Metamora burns a timeout, and we will take this timeout to remind you of our great sponsors that makes tonight's presentation possible, starting with Keps in Washington. For a great atmosphere, superb food, and a family-oriented dining experience, give Keps a visit. 313 Muller Road in Washington. And call 309-444-1974 for reservations. Also presented by Jake Weston State Farm here in Washington, just west of the square. Call 309-444-4441 for all your insurance needs. It's Jake Weston from State Farm. 2nd and 7 coming up for the Panthers here, John. A little surprising to see Metamora burn a timeout. It looked like they had an injured player kind of hobbling off the field. Tyler Kasap looked to be shaken up, but you'd figure that that wouldn't be enough to garner a timeout.
Yeah, I didn't think they wanted to burn one there, but as he was kind of limited to the sidelines, didn't look like they had a player to come in and switch out real quick, and right then the official kind of signaled that and a timeout for Metamora.
Burlett draws Metamora offsides on the hard count.
Penalty is offsides against the Redbirds.
Just enough to get a little bit of a jump.
5-yard penalty.
The officials picked up on it,
and
that makes it 2nd and 2. Cade Beachside and Thomas Borges sharing a handshake on the left side of your screen. It's the little things that add up to the big things, especially in these close games. The give to Borges. He's not going anywhere. Once again, met by TJ Rising.
Rising doing a nice job defensively. 2 tackles on this possession.
3rd and 1, Washington.
3rd and 1, Washington staying with the heavy set here. The backfield of the Killer Bees, Borges and Beachside. Intimidating to say the least. Beachside without a carry tonight at the fullback spot. Maybe he gets one here. Play clock at 10. Borges gets the carry and gets enough for a fresh set of downs.
22, Thomas Borges, the carry for the Panthers, takes it across midfield to the 46-yard line. First down, Washington.
John, Washington with a slow and methodical drive here. They've yet to take a shot. Do you think we'll see one?
I think we could here on this play or the next play. But right now, not a bad idea to keep ground and pounding up the middle. See if you can get in yardage. You got to know you got Paul Sporer in your back pocket if it comes to that situation with a field goal. But
Borges, another try. He picks up 3.
22, Borges carries again for the Panthers. Gain down to the 42-yard line.
Well, it seems like Washington's sticking with the philosophy, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Thomas Borges certainly is not broke.
now the run game through him has been effective. Going to continue to do that and just see where that can lead them.
Isaac Mapson, the lone wide receiver at the top of your screen. Whistles blow. Timeout taken by Washington head coach Darryl Crouch. Washington burning its first timeout of the contest. So, John, that's 2 timeouts on this drive. One from either side.
Yeah, probably not what they wanted to do right there. Burn some early timeouts, but got to get your defense set.
Grant Hotkovich is the winner of that.
You might be able to hear on the PA system Christian Uphoff, who was once on the Green Bay Packers preseason squad, is in the house tonight, standing on the Panthers sideline. We'll see if we can get a shot of him.
Looks like he's on the left-hand side there.
Standing at about the 40-yard line. Chatting it up as head coach Darryl Crouch chats it up with his squad. And a rare sight for Coach Crouch. He's not wearing shorts tonight, Joe Coe.
No, and usually, despite the weather, I mean, even if it's cold or warm, he's wearing shorts tonight, going with the pants.
Burlett with the quarterback keeper. Gets close to that first down marker.
The quarterback keeper for the Panthers.
We'll see if it's enough to move the chains. Looks like it is not. 3rd and about 1.
Gain down to the 37. 3rd and 1, Washington.
Panthers bringing out the heavy set, as are the Redbirds. E.J. Phillips back on the field. He had that touchdown run earlier. Here's the give to Phillips. He spins down past the sticks.
41, E.J. Phillips to carry for the Panthers. Gets a gain down to the
Another
35.
nice run there for Washington.
First down, Washington.
E.J. Phillips stepping up big tonight. Thomas Borges back into the game. Tyler Casey to the sideline. Washington chewing this 3rd quarter clock. After Metamora marched down the field in a few plays, Panthers contrasting that. High snap. Borges bounces around and is brought down.
Borges to carry for the Panthers.
Metamora's line meeting Borges right there.
84 Kasap on the stop.
Clock continues to tick.
A gain of 1
Sure,
on the
the Redbirds want to make a
2nd
big
and
stop
9,
here.
Washington.
A chilly night in Metamora, finally starting to feel like fall after a very, very warm handful of games to start the season. Here in week 8, both these squads 5-2. A win would officially clinch a playoff spot for either team. Washington in 6A receiving votes in the AP poll. Metamora in 5A. Burlett Looking right, connects with Beachside. Down to the 25, escorted out of bounds, short of the 20, and a flag is down.
Burlett to 13, Cade Beachside. There is a penalty marker on the play.
We'll see if this one's coming back, Joko.
See what the call was there. Face, no.
Personal foul, hands to the face, rather personal foul.
Gonna say it looked like Beachside might have extended his hand there a little bit at his face mask. It's tough to tell from up here, but that's what they saw down in the field.
That's exactly where the flag came in from. So Beachside with a good catch and run, but it's coming back. That was his first catch all night.
Huge break if you're Metamora, that type of situation. Knocking right on the door, and type of penalty gives you another chance.
Down. Now 2nd and 7, Washington.
Noah Burlett sees some personnel switches here before the play. Brock Pollitt to the sideline. Spencer Hydebreeder in the game, standing at 6'5" in the slot on the bottom of your screen. More play action. In trouble, hit as he throws, and it's batted down.
Pass attempt by the Panthers.
Risky pass there from Burlett. One was kind of a sitting duck right there. Metamora almost had a chance to intercept that ball.
3rd and 7, Washington.
Well, John, so often these coaches, not even just these coaches in particular, but any high school coach will tell you the team with the fewer mistakes will win the game. And Washington got away with a mistake there. Burlett did not take the sack, almost got picked off. But rather it's 3rd and 7. This feels like a big play. Washington with a chance to take an even more commanding lead before the 4th quarter.
Yeah, stop here would be crucial for Metamora. First down for Washington would be even bigger.
Burlett, pocket collapsing, brought down by Garrett Taylor.
Quarterback is brought down for a sack on the play. 11.
Second
Garrett
sack
Taylor
of the ball
brings
game
down
for
Burlett.
Garrett Taylor, the senior, stepping up again.
Be a loss of 1 on the play.
Looks like they're going to send in Sporer.
Sporer is going to try the field goal from long range. They're going to send Solomon Schwartz back deep to return for the Redbirds. I don't think he's going to get a chance at it. Richardson on for the hold. Almost a 50-yarder for Paul Sporer. Well wide left. Just his second miss all season, John. And I think that attempt shows the confidence that Darryl Crouch has in Sporer.
Yeah, I mean, you want to give him a chance. That obviously would have been the longest one for him all season, but you trust your kicker, you send him out in that situation, and just doesn't pay off that time. But Metamora down 3. I don't think a whole lot will happen in this 3rd quarter, but it's going to set up for a very exciting 4th.
Washington chews 5+ minutes off the clock, all for naught. And the defining play of that drive was that penalty flag against Cade Beachside after that catch and run. Washington's first flag of the game comes back to bite them. Connor Willerton, the 3-year starter, back onto the field for the Redbirds under center, and gives to Ethan Petrie up the gut. And John, that is likely to be the final play of quarter number 3. Both squads register a touchdown. Another touchdown reception from Caden Hartnett started the second half scoring, and then E.J. Phillips cashes in a touchdown from about 1 yard out for his first rushing touchdown of the year. That's where we're at. Washington leading by 3, and we'll take the quarter break to remind you that tonight's presentation of Washington versus Metamora is brought to you by Kep's Sports Bar and Grill in Washington. Stop in for their great selection of wings, pizza, burgers, and more in a family-oriented atmosphere. Take in any big game on one of Kep's flat-screen TVs or try your luck at one of their video game machines. Find Kep's at 313 Muller Road in Washington or call 309-444-1974. Tonight's presentation also brought to you by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington, located on Peoria Street, just west of the square. Jake has got you covered for all your insurance needs, home, auto, life, and health insurance. To visit Jake, it's located just off of the square in Washington, or you can visit JakeWestonInsurance.com or give him a ring, 309-444-4441. Flipping the sides of the field before we enter quarter number 4. Both student sections getting fired up. You can see the Redbirds over there on the far side of the field. They came ready to play.
Metamora will have 2nd and 7 to begin the 4th quarter.
2nd and 7 coming up for their Birds. Willerton gives to Petrie. He's going downhill, charges ahead, past the chains. That'll be a first down.
Almost broke that last tackle there. Had a lot of field ahead of him. But I think we might see a lot on the ground here from Metamora.
First down, Metamora.
Ethan Petrie with a gutsy performance after missing last week's contest. He had limited practice all week long, fully cleared by the doctors. He was a game-time decision today, and his decision has been felt by the Panthers' defense. Willerton taking his time, play clock at 5. He keeps it himself, bouncing to the outside, brought down by E.J. Phillips.
By 6, Willerton.
And going back to your point, Larry, they know they needed him more than anything tonight after having him out 2 weeks. 2 straight losses, and just how big Ethan Petrie is to this Metamora Redbirds football team. He showed that tonight.
And Metamora largely has been very, very healthy all year long. I think that had a lot to do with their hot start. Started 5-0 before they've lost back-to-back games entering this week. But that Petrie injury probably took a little bit of wind out of their sails 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now at Morton. Willerton taking a shot down the sideline, lots of contact. Caden Hartnett hauled it in. Looked like he was out of bounds, but 2 flags come in. That's a complete pass. Caden Hartnett hauls it in despite the pass interference.
Really nice play there from Metamora. After a couple Petrie runs, they go downfield, and how good has Willerton and Hartnett been tonight? It's one of his favorite targets.
Caden Hartnett stepping up for one of his biggest games of the season. For context, entering tonight, Solomon Schwartz led Metamora in receptions with 21. The next closest was Hartnett with just 10. So Metamora, generally a running team, and when they do throw, most of the time it's to Schwartz, except tonight. Pass interference penalty declined. As you might imagine, Washington's second flag of the half.
Chance for Metamora to make a really big statement on this drive and get back on top.
Here's Petrie, up the gut, going nowhere.
39, Petrie, the carry for
Jace Harlan, the sophomore linebacker, one of the only sophomores that gets a lot of playing time on this Panthers squad, comes through there.
Loss of 2, 2nd and
Good job by Washington's defensive line up front to meet him right there for a loss. Pushing Metamora back a little bit, so we'll see if they get another pass play in there, potentially Hartnett or Schwartz downfield.
Schwartz, the lone receiver, to the right in the slot. Willerton and Petrie in the backfield. Man in motion is Hartnett. Willerton stuffed in the backfield on the quarterback keeper.
By 6, Willerton. 85, Hoogerwerf, and 42.
Noah Hoogerwerf, starting defensive end, comes through with the tackle there. Washington's box players are stepping up, tightening the screws as the Panthers lead by a field goal. They've won 3 straight games. Metamora has lost 2 straight. 75-year Mid-Illini Conference rivals doing battle here in Washington tonight. 3rd down and 15. Hartnett in motion. Fake screen. Lofted over the middle to Schwartz. Nearly picked off.
Sets him up for a long 4th down. You would have to think punt here, but it looks like they will.
4th and 15, Metamora.
Just too risky to go for it on 4th and 15. Still plenty of time on the clock. 2 timeouts left for both sides.
I would say if you're down more towards the 2-minute mark, maybe. With 9 minutes left, you still got a lot of time in this game, and Metamora's defense has really proven that they're stout tonight, so a good idea to punt here.
Kanan McQueary back deep to return. Solomon Schwartz boots it away, almost blocked. Spiral punt, rolling inside the 1. At the goal line, it is marked down inside the 1-yard line. What a punt by Solomon Schwartz.
Really nice punt there, and setting up Washington deep in their own territory, but you could have executed a better punt there, and nice job there to get back and spot that one down.
There's been a lot of talk in our broadcast booth, at least about Paul Sporer, how good a kicker and punter he is. Solomon Schwartz showing that Sporer is not the only one who can do some kicking in this contest. Metamora backing up Washington on its own 1. The difference right now, a touchdown run from E.J. Phillips. Earlier in the half, as Noah Barlett dives forward, picked up 2 yards. Gets him off the goal line, John, and that's probably the most important thing, at least on these first few plays.
Yeah, definitely getting forward there, not risking a safety, but they're out of that spot now. They can breathe a little bit easier.
Cade Beachide, Tyler Casey onto the field now, heavy set for the Panthers. Borges the tailback. It's fumbled. Ball is loose. Who's got it? Looks like the Panthers fell on it. Exhale, Panthers fans.
Yeah, that could have been one of your bigger mental mistakes of the game right there. Unfortunately, they get right back on the ball, but not a place you want to fumble the football.
Isaac Mapson and Spencer Hydebreeder check into the game. 2 long and lanky receiving threats for the Panthers. Burlett operating out of the gun from his own end zone. Now he comes out under center. 3rd and 8. Thomas Borges. Not much space.
41, E.J. Phillips to carry for the Panthers.
Looked like he got 1 or 2, if that. Metamora's defense takes a stand, and they're going to force the Panthers to punt.
Gain up to the 7.
Good old-fashioned rivalry in Washington tonight. A little good old-fashioned defense.
It is, and Metamora right after having to punt the ball away, get it right back, make a stand.
Schwartz and Hartnett back deep to return. It bounces. Schwartz scoops it up and lunges past the 40-yard line. Risky play there. A lot of hang time off the leg of Sporer. Not exactly a booming punt. Short field for the Redbirds here.
Chance at new life for the Redbirds. Just down 3 points here. We sit at about the 7-minute mark, but a lot on the line.
First down, Metamora.
Redbirds with a chance to pull back out in front for the first time since the opening quarter. Trying to make it 2 consecutive victories against their arch rival Washington. Willerton throws right. He had Hartnett but overthrew him.
Pass attempt by the Redbirds falls incomplete, intended for Hartnett. 2nd and 10, Metamora.
Metamora having a lot of success on the ground game tonight, specifically Ethan Petrie, but The star of the show is Hartnett. He's got both touchdowns for the Birds.
Yeah, he is, and like you said earlier in the broadcast, he's really stepped up tonight. A player that we've seen get a lot of touches this season, but not one of their main touchdown threats, and he has proven to be the star tonight.
Petrie
39. Petrie
down to the
carry
45.
for the Redbirds.
Third down and
Before
medium
Lewis
coming
on
up.
the stop.
And the way that this game
The
is
gain of
trending,
3 on the
John,
play. 3rd and
Panthers
7,
aren't going to let up
Metamora.
easy on third down.
No, and it could go either way at this point. We know that Metamora doesn't have a field goal kicking team per se, so you get close enough, might not see that, so a touchdown's going to have to do it for the Redbirds. But they continue to drive, and the clock is Washington's friend at this point.
Schwarz split out wide to the right with Hartnett. Willerton in trouble. Pocket closing. What a throw. What a catch, broken up. In and out of the hands of TJ Rising. Drew Lewis flew in for the coverage.
Had it right there in his hands. Just tipped away, but man, what an effort there defensively for Washington.
Out there by 41,
The
Phillips.
defensive play of the game from Drew Lewis. All-around athlete.
Pass was intended
Star
for
football
33,
player, star
Rising
basketball player for the Washington
will bring up
Panthers.
a 4th and 7.
Seen a couple of those
Metamora.
big blocks from throughout the basketball season. That one was no different. Jumps up there and gets his hand on it.
Shades of the buzzer-beating block against Morton back in February to win the Panthers the game. They went undefeated in the Mid-Illini Conference this past season. Schwarz the punt, almost blocked. This one bounces at the 10, takes a Washington bounce
Punt
before
by
it's
the
downed.
Redbirds takes a
Heads-up play by Tyler Casp
backward top and then
to
is
stop it
down
right
at
there.
the
So
16
Panthers
yard
not
line.
pinned again,
First down,
but a lot of field in front of them.
Washington.
But they have the lead, and we'll take this brief moment to remind you that tonight's presentation of Clutch Sports Media is brought to you by Kep's Sports Bar and Grill here in Washington. Call 309-444-1974 to get your reservation for the best wings, pizza, and burgers in town. Tonight's presentation also brought to you by Jake Weston State Farm. For all your insurance needs, call Jake at 309-444-4441. It's Jake Weston State Farm. We thank all our great sponsors all season long, especially tonight, bringing you this fantastic rivalry matchup. Burlett throws over the middle. Mapson can't channel Odell Beckham Jr. He almost had it, but it's incomplete.
Would have been a really nice one-handed snag. Just couldn't pull that one down completely.
10, Washington.
That's the first time that Mapson has touched the ball all night, Joko, and I think that's credit to the Metamora defense, but it's also surprising to see him not really involved in the offense. He leads the team in reception yards with 199 entering tonight.
Yeah, and Metamora doing a nice job in their secondary of covering him too, not giving him a lot of looks in that backfield. See what Washington can do.
The pitch to Borges. Turns the corner. Brought down. What a hit by TJ Rising.
For the Panthers.
Flying all over the field tonight.
Tackled
Yeah, how
by
good has he been
33,
defensively?
Rising.
Seen a couple big tackles from him, and that one saves a big game from Borges on the outside.
22, 3rd and 4.
3rd and 4. Metamora's defense trying to get its offense another shot to take the lead and snap a 2-game losing streak. Washington trying to extend a win streak to 4 games. They've been in these tough games before. Head coach Darryl Crouch compared this matchup to Washington's Week 2 matchup against Kankakee that the Panthers lost 28-14. They lead here. Borges fighting to the sticks. Does he have enough?
22, Thomas Borges to carry.
It's going to be right there.
Going to be really close. See where they put the spot. It might just be 4th and 1.
Gain on the play across the
Might be enough to move it.
To the 27.
Much to the delight of the Washington faithful, the chains are moving. And the clock is a-ticking, perhaps more importantly. Panthers looking for some insurance. They've won 4 of the last 6 matchups with their arch rival. Trying to keep that trend going. Borges up the gut, banging bodies for a gain of 4.
22, Borges to carry again for the Panthers.
Metamora's had good defense all night.
33
This drive right here, this is where you really want to step up, give yourself another chance. Washington wants to try to close the door and secure that tie for first place, depending on what Morton did tonight.
Washington.
Morton also tied for first place in the Mid-Illini Conference. They were taking on Limestone tonight. Potters definitely had to have been favored in that matchup. Washington will close the season next week against East Peoria. 2nd and 5. Borges again with men giving chase. He beats him down the sideline, bumped out of bounds by Caden Hartnett. A big hit. Good to see Borges get up all right.
Takes the ball across midfield.
That's 2 really quick players colliding right at the same time. Almost looked like Hartnett was a little shaken up by that one. And Borges, but man, a lot of speed behind that hit.
Clock stopped at 3:46. Metamora's defense needs a stop if they want to stay in this game. Washington with a touchdown and an extra point could really put this thing out of reach. Burlett gives to Beadshide, lowers the shoulder for a gain of a few on first down. Beadshide very motivated coming into this game. He told me at practice on Tuesday that loss against Metamora in the spring was an inspiration all offseason. He said, that's how our seniors went out with that loss. We didn't have a state playoff game. That was our state playoffs last year, and they did not finish on a high note. So Beadshide especially has been using that game as motivation. He told me it was the worst feeling of his life, and I think that kind of sums up what this rivalry means to some of these players.
Oh, definitely.
Jack Lemus. Lemus with some space. His first carry of the night is a big one.
Carry by the Panthers, number 8.
One man to beat. He almost could have sealed it right there.
Tackle by 11, Taylor. Gain on the play down to the 32-yard line.
It's a crucial stand for Metamora's defense. Make or break right here. Washington wants to put it away.
The Redbirds were able to come up with a lot of stops earlier in this quarter, late in the third quarter, to keep the ball on Washington's half of the field. Now their defense is broken a little bit. Clock still ticking. Washington still in the heavy set. Noah Burlett in no hurry. Lemus again. Flag flies. It's going to be a key call.
8, Lemus to carry.
Looks like Solomon Schwartz is walking away a little frustrated. We'll see what the call is. Face mask against Metamora.
Against the Redbirds, 5-yard face mask.
Just a 5-yard face mask rather than 15.
Ball will end up inside the 25.
And now that makes it even harder against the Redbirds. They've got 2 timeouts, but they need the stop here.
Replay first down.
Yeah, you do. This is really big spot in the game.
Washington.
Washington can ice it. You think they still got Paul Sporer back there if they do get stopped and have to kick a field goal. Still got the best kicker in the area in your back pocket.
1st and 1. How often do you see that? Lemus can't convert.
8, Jack Lemus carries again for the Panthers.
2nd down and 1.
Gets it down to the 22, just shy of first down yardage. It'll be 2nd and short. Washington.
Got to think of that clock, too. That clock continues to tick.
Both sides just letting this clock wind. Metamora not exercising its timeouts yet, but you got to figure that If they don't get the stop here, this is it. Panthers with the heavy set in. Lemus past the chains and then some inside the 10. Flags fly, a little extracurricular activity.
Looked like it was on Mapson out there.
Marker flies out at the end of the run.
Washington's sideline is frustrated.
Gain was enough for a first down.
That'll probably be a personal foul. You mentioned it on Mapson. The officials congregating and discussing right now. Personal foul against Washington, indeed.
Personal foul against the Panthers.
So that'll push them back 15 yards. We'll see if the play stands. John, I imagine it does, right?
Yeah, I would say
Penalty
so.
will be marked off after the end of the run. Moves the ball back to the 25. We will replay second down.
So the play does not stand. No first down. Now this makes things interesting.
It sure does.
Looks like the officials have corrected their mistake. It's going to be first down.
Even after marking off the penalty.
But it moves Washington back, so they're no longer knocking on the door, but them converting that first down really makes things challenging for Metamora.
Yeah, and their timeouts have to play a factor here, but yeah, with first down, they only have so much time left, only so many stops.
1:15 remaining. Last stand for the Redbirds on the road. They've lost 2 straight games after starting 5-0. Lemus stuffed at the line of scrimmage by Garrett Taylor. He's not going down easy.
Taylor with the stop, gain of 1, and
Metamora
we have a timeout.
burns a timeout. Before we discuss the strategy, tonight's presentation of Clutch Sports Media brought to you by Kep Sports Bar and Grill here down the street from Babcock Field in Washington. For a great atmosphere, great food, pizza, burgers, wings, you name it. Give Keps a call, give them a visit at 313 Muller Road in Washington, or give them a ring at 309-444-1974. Also by Jake Weston State Farm, also in Washington, located just off the square. Visit JakeWestonInsurance.com or call 309-444-4441 for all your insurance needs. It's Jake Weston State Farm. 2nd and 9, John. If you're Metamora and you get another stop just like you did there, do you burn the timeout right away or do you wait on it?
You know, I'd probably call the timeout. We're looking at 1:08 right now. You figure by the time they run a play, could see it below a minute. You get in that 50-second mark, you think you got to start calling it, and you got a lot of field to go if you do get that ball back.
Washington will have 2nd and 9.
Redbirds with some personnel changes. Washington brings in the heavy set. Lemus again stopped at the line. Jared Grebner takes his final timeout. Just 4 seconds come off the clock there. 1:04 to go. Metamora now out of timeouts. So you gotta figure that if Metamora gets a stop here and gets the ball back, they're gonna have less than 30 or 20 seconds to try and pull off a miracle.
Yeah, I would take a long pass downfield, but yeah, you leave yourself in that situation. It was a good idea to call timeout there. It needed to happen. You only took 4 seconds off the clock, but still, you got to make this stop here and just hope for a little bit of time to get the ball back and then hope for a miracle, like you said.
Washington has extended its streak of dominance at least this far. They've won 3 straight games entering tonight, outscoring their opponents 84-35. They were the hot hand. They've ridden that momentum through nearly 4 full quarters tonight. Metamora has lost back-to-back games after starting 5-0, starting to stumble down the stretch. Just 1 week left heading into next week.
3rd and 9 after the timeout.
3rd and 9 for the Panthers here. Burlett The pitch to Lemus. He's got some space. To the outside. To the house. Jack Lemus with the exclamation point. The Panthers are going to defeat their arch rival Metamora for their 4th consecutive win.
Huge run there from Jack Lemus. Gets on the board for his first touchdown in the last couple games. Couldn't have come at a bigger time, though, in this rival.
Paul Sporer on to put the finishing touches on. He drills it. The fans start to file out on the visiting side of the bleachers. It's gotta be a gut punch for these Redbirds, who are state-ranked, undefeated, sitting at 5-0, looking like the Mid-Illini Conference favorite, and now they're out of contention for a 2nd consecutive Mid-Illini title.
Yeah, and I think where Washington got a lot of momentum, that Morton game was huge that they beat them, last month, and then you go over to that Pekin game where they went for a 2-point conversion late. Very gutsy call there. Get that win. I feel like it really set them on track to keep this winning momentum. It's going to be 4 straight wins. Looking strong heading into the playoffs after playing East Peoria, like should be a favorite in that game, you would think. Washington coming out strong, but they've really turned the tables here.
And we'll look at the schedule coming up for Metamora here in a moment. But they're on the road at Canton, as you mentioned, next week. So you got to figure that they're probably favored in that game. Canton this week down big to Dunlap for our Friday night showcase matchup. Joey Wright and Cody Roskins on the call there. Shuda nearly fumbles it and recovers nicely. Metamora is going to have 48 seconds to work with, down 2 scores. Now we'll take a look at the Metamora upcoming schedule, Joko. And their last few games, you see that when they throttled Dunlap on the 24th, they looked unstoppable, but now they've lost 3 straight games, assuming this score goes final. Morton, a loss in week 6. Pekin lost last week on ESPN Peoria's Friday night showcase game. Tonight, a tough loss against Washington. They'll try to pick up that 6th win to clinch a playoff spot next week at Canton. Connor Willerton throws left, finds Solomon Schwartz, and he can't hang on.
Yeah, Metamora was right there back and forth in this game. Never really out of it, took that early lead, down 10-8. Washington goes up 17-8, but Morton scores with 6 minutes left in the 3rd to get right back in it. And then we didn't see a score in the 4th up until 55 seconds left. Jack Lemus puts the final anchor on the Washington win.
And then we'll look at the Panthers' schedule here in a moment. 2nd and 10. Willerton. Schwartz hangs on this time. To the outside. Fending off defenders. Won't go down easy. Now Washington's upcoming schedule and their last few weeks. Joko, they've been unstoppable. Beat Morton here on their homecoming game, and that really sparked this streak. I would not want to run into the Washington Panthers come playoff time here in 2 weeks. They'll wrap up the season next week at East Peoria. Tough draw for the Raiders in week 9. Looks like Panthers will be favored to win 5 straight games to end the regular season. Caden Hartnett hauls in that pass, gets out of bounds to stop the clock at 15 seconds.
And the thing that's really impressed me with Washington is their defense has been so solid. Only allowed 14 points against Morton with Seth Glatz, as good as he's been, and then 14 tonight against Metamora if they can hold them off here in the last 15 seconds. But what a phenomenal job by the defense throughout the season.
Washington's student section chanting up a storm. For good reason. It's always a little bit more fun to brave the cold when you come out on top in a rivalry game. Hartnett, another reception, continuing a great night for the junior wide receiver. He scored both of Metamora's touchdowns, one in the first half, one in the second half. Metamora with the first score of the second half, but just not able to cobble anything together here in the 4th quarter. They've been getting the job done here against Washington's prevent defense. 10.6 remain. Thanks for joining us tonight. ClutchSportsIL.com game of the week. If you like Central Illinois High School football, this is the place to be. Live video streams every week of the season and the playoffs coming up here in just a few short weeks. Willerton out of the pocket, trying to stay behind the line of scrimmage. Zips one wide of Schwartz. 3.7 remaining. 2nd and 10. Joko, this is going to be the last play of the game. Would be pretty tough for the Redbirds to pick up 10 points on one play.
You talked about that key to the game earlier. Washington keep that crowd going, as we've seen Drew Lewis there kind of pump them up at the end, and they're definitely going to be loud tonight. Be going home with the 24-14 victory. They can hold off Metamora here on this final play, but what a statement win.
Listen to these fans on the final play of action from Babcock Field tonight. Flag flies. We're probably going to get an untimed down. Solomon Schwartz with a little extracurricular activity. No love lost between these sides. Schwartz talking it up with, looks like Drew Lewis. A few defensive linemen in there as well. Zeros on the clock. Pass interference is the call against Washington. Fans don't like it.
15-yard penalty.
15-yard penalty, untimed down coming up for the Redbirds.
This will be your last play.
And we'll have an untimed down, as the game cannot end on a defensive
Well, Joko,
penalty.
you could say that this last play is for semantics, but if the Redbirds score here, it would be the 24th matchup between these sides to be a one-score game. Darryl Crouch burns a timeout.
And before
Why
we
not?
have that untimed
And
down, we have
one
a
more timeout to
Washington.
remind you of our great sponsors that helped us bring you the action tonight. Caps in Washington for great atmosphere, great wings, pizza, burgers. Give Caps a visit. 313 Muller Road in Washington. Give them a call at 309-444-1974. And by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington for all your insurance needs, home, auto, life, health, you name it. Give him a buzz at 309-444-4441. It's Jake Weston State Farm right here in Washington. Now listen to this crowd.
1st and 10, Metamora after the timeout.
Redbirds with one last try to launch one to the end zone. Willerton has the arm power to do it. Scrambles, lofts one deep, incomplete.
Pass attempt by the Redbirds falls
The
incomplete.
finishing touches on Washington's 4th straight win. None of those wins bigger than this one, John Camosa.
Yeah, huge win for Washington. Close game the whole way. 4th quarter, they get that late score from Jack Lemus, and Washington's going to be heading home with another victory, 4th straight victory over their rival Metamora.
The Panthers improved to 6-2, 5-1 in conference play. They remain tied for first place with the Morton Potters. And of course, Washington has the tiebreaker over Morton, John, because they defeated Morton to start that 4-game win streak. So I assume that if Washington were to tie atop the standings, they would claim that conference title because of that tiebreaker. Metamora, on the other hand, things in a spiral for head coach Jared Grebner and the Redbirds. They now fall to 5-3 after starting 5-0, 3-3 in Mid-Illini play. And now the question is, where do you go from here going into Week 9?
Yeah, you gotta pick up that last win of the season. It's gonna be big for Metamora at Canton, and that's one you have to win. You get that 6th win of the year, finish 6-3, and know that you kind of hit a jam there mid-season, but try to rebound, get in the playoffs, and make some noise there. Records go out the door once postseason starts, but Washington's got to be feeling really good after getting East Peoria next week and coming off this big Metamora win.
The celebration is on at Babcock Field. The Panthers take down their #1 rival, the Metamora Redbirds, to remain atop the Mid-Illini Conference. Looking ahead for both these teams to Week 9, the final week of the regular season. First for Washington, they travel to East Peoria to wrap up their slate, looking for their 5th consecutive victory, while the Redbirds will wrap up the regular season at Canton. Washington, with this victory, officially clinches a playoff spot. They are in. You'll hear their name called on the bracket reveal 2 Sundays from now, but Metamora has to wait 1 more week to lock that up. John, your final thoughts?
I thought it was a really well-played game from Washington. Liked a lot what I seen out of Metamora as well. Real hard-fought game. Thought we would expect to see something as close as 3 points up until the final touchdown there in the 4th. But Washington, a gritty effort on defense to hold Metamora to only 14 points. And offensively, Thomas Borges, really nice game. And then Jack Lemus to take over and have that late score. But Noah Barlett behind center, huge. And Washington, just all-around great game.
Jack Lemus, E.J. Phillips, and Thomas Borges combining for 3 touchdowns, Washington's 3 touchdowns, to seal the deal here on their home turf tonight. The Panthers lock it down over their rival, the Metamora Redbirds. And that just about does it from Babcock Field in Washington, Illinois here tonight. So far, our entire crew, Francisco Alonso and Rodrigo Perez on the sidelines, our producer, Evan Johnson, and for my partner, John Camosa, this is Larry Larson saying so long and thank you for spending your Friday evening with us here in Washington. Again, the final, Washington defeats rival Metamora 24-14. So long, everybody.